Well, Greg will join.
Where's Hal?
He'll come in. He usually comes
I
in.
mean, we can't, he has to
Gambling.
describe everything,
I know. He'll join.
right? You're a scribe.
Do you use tools now to do any of the note taking and things like that?
Well, our clerk a few years back just did action minutes, so we don't actually do full note taking anymore because we record the meetings.
Oh, yeah.
So it's actually very easy. We used to do full notes. So
Yeah, the recording is great, actually. I
It's
was
nice.
looking into one section of it for
mine,
the presentation, and that was really great, actually, to look at that. Okay, well, it's 2:00, and I think we have a call to order. Get started. Everybody ready? Okay. Do we have to have a motion for starting? No, we just start. Okay, great. But thanks for reminding me. Like, oh, I can't remember. So we have do we have any public comments? We have a space for public comments right now.
we do, but
We don't have any.
if there's anybody
Registered or online? Nobody behind me this time, right? Awkward, that one. One meeting, I was like, okay, so no public comments at this time. What about agenda changes, additions or deletions? I don't have any suggestions. Anybody else? Okay, nobody has any changes for the agenda. So the next item is approval of the previous minutes.
They're very short and sweet, so.
Yeah, so,
I read them through.
yes,
yeah.
excellent.
I have no comments on it, but I will move to approve them.
All right,
Second.
okay, then, do we all vote to approve the minutes? Yes, no, yes?
No negative.
Okay, so, wow, all right, we're just motoring right through. So we approved the minutes.
Great.
And now we're on to the new business items. Is Greg here yet? No, not yet. Well, that's unfortunate, but yours have. All right, so the updated terms is the next item.
Yes.
And I was all like, how time has flown.
Yeah.
So I'll be up for my term in October.
Wow.
Yeah,
Is that after?
it's my
the next
first
meeting?
term.
No. After the next meeting is when you're,
That's a good question. We don't know when the next meeting is, do we?
We'll probably have one before your term expires then. Usually we have one before October 31st.
We'll take
Typically.
that into account, I think,
Yeah,
right?
we'll do one
We'll do
before
that,
your
because
term
we
expires.
we'll need to do usually October, November timeframe, we do the previous year's budget actuals. I think it would be good to do it with this committee, since you
Yeah.
guys are reviewing the
Oh, yes.
proposed today. I think that it would only
Yeah.
make sense, so we'll
Right,
make sure to
I'm
get
not
it
the
in.
only one who.
I see
might
that.
bow
Yeah, I
out,
see
but
a
I
few people.
personally, I'll just share this. I'm gonna reapply, so.
Oh, great. I would love to have
Yeah,
it back.
Dina's terming out and she's not planning on reapplying. She's
Right.
been an active committee member for a
Wow.
very long time. And she's also a mayor.
Yeah.
So she's been part of our community for a really long time. So.
Oh, there's Greg. Hi, Greg. Welcome in. Do you know where we are on the agenda now?
Yes. Well, I have to make a
Oh,
statement, I
can't
believe.
hear you.
Can't hear you, Greg.
Oh, can you hear me?
Actually, good test on the owl.
not going to touch anything.
Can you guys online hear us?
Greg, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Okay.
Now we go.
Okay. I think I have to make a statement.
Oh, yeah.
before- Have we started or should I do it now?
No, why don't you do it now? That would be perfect.
Okay. I have just cause to attend this meeting remotely under the Brown Act. I have attended 0 stormwater management oversight committee meetings remotely this calendar year. This is my first. I must attend this meeting remotely because I must provide caregiving to my son. In this room, I am accompanied by no one over the age of 18.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
You get to see the kid that he's taking.
Yeah, prove it.
No, you don't have to do that. So it's Dina, Hal, and Catherine. I'll term out October. So we'll definitely have another committee meeting before that one.
Right. just Greg, just so in case you missed it, we went ahead and approved the minutes of the previous meeting. And so with the updated terms, really the only issue is that we all are aware of that, and you guys are going to schedule the next meeting appropriately.
The other thing is they're actively recruiting for
Recruiting, right.
commissioners, and they're struggling to find
Yeah.
commissioners. So if you can spread the word, I know that the one nice thing, this is a good entry point to get people engaged, because it's not one of those ones where you have to meet monthly, and also the packet's not dense. So it's a good way to get introduced to staff, and it's not dense in terms of a lot of reading material, a lot of staff
Check,
reports,
yeah.
I know, in terms of that report, but it's a nice way to kind of get exposed to what government work is, that kind of stuff. And it's really a fiduciary duty in terms of what you do. So if there are people that want to just get exposed to being part of the committee and get a sense of what it's like to be part of a commission, this is a good way to, the ask isn't too large. Some of the other commissions meet a lot, and the ask is it's a lot of hours. This one's not. So that's maybe for those you guys could help sell it, because we're trying to get some people to actually put in for the Stormwater Oversight Committee.
Okay, yeah, we've had no applications for
No
the vacant,
applications.
so
for
we
vacant
would
Seems like-
really appreciate.
Like accounting is the main qualification, really, when you think about everything we were supposed to do.
Well, I think it's also
Make sure
interest.
The bond
I
issue
think
was,
interest.
we, everything in,
Yeah.
have to look at that number. Did we do everything we were supposed to? And
Mhm.
that's the audit, so.
But it's also, I think it's if you're interested in numbers, but you're also interested in stormwater, you're interested in making sure that the fiduciary duties of what the committee is supposed to be doing. And then if you have also environmental, I think those are some things that might be different things. And if you just want to dabble your foot into how the public sector is. So those are some things if you're at a dinner party.
Yeah.
So is the application link open right now?
Yeah,
Refresh my memory? It is. So maybe
we
we can reshare with the committee, so
Yeah,
you guys can
yeah.
share with anybody who might be.
We get
interested.
emails and.
Yeah.
Is there already the application process open for the October?
correct.
Oh, okay, so that is open.
They're
All right,
actively,
so I'll go ahead and. do
yeah, they're
that.
actively recruiting now.
Okay. So I think we have concluded the updated terms.
Oh,
And
here comes
House is
Oh, here comes Hal. All right, let's just wait for him.
Is there an action needed on?
Here comes Val, huh?
I don't think there's an action,
No, there's no action.
unless we had somebody who's not on the committee wondering.
Welcome, Hal.
Hello.
Hello.
See you.
Because you were saying.
Oh, I was asking whether there is an option to do an exception if anybody wanted to extend that term beyond the 2 years.
I am not sure.
We check with the clerk.
No, beyond the 2 years.
We're doing the 2 terms.
2 terms, sorry.
Oh, beyond the 2 terms.
Good turn.
We could do more than 2 terms.
I don't know, because they just started doing that, so that's a new thing that they didn't have a term limit before. So Hal might know. Do you know if there's
Even
Hal
if
usually knows, because he's been part of this committee since the very beginning.
Well, maybe we could talk to the clerk's office if we still continue not to get any
Mhm.
applicants, and yeah, a current committee member is interested in extending, maybe we could
Mhm.
figure something out.
Yeah. Okay.
So is Hal up to,
Yeah.
Hal up to,
Unfortunately. No.
the current
I don't know.
weekly meeting, so.
It- We were just talking about how the term limits they're
I
recruiting right
think I'm
now.
hitting term limits.
Yeah, in October.
Well, you're hitting your term is Catherine, yours, and Dina's, and Dina is not looking to renew hers.
Mhm.
And you think you're hitting the term limit. Is that what you said, Hal?
Think so.
Okay.
Maybe we check with the clerk.
We'll check with the
what
clerk
that means.
office, yeah. We're not getting a lot of interest in our committee. So we need some
So if you
people
know
to spread the
anyone.
word.
And for Hal's benefit, you want to repeat next meeting's gonna happen.
So we're definitely gonna have the next meeting before October 31st. So make sure that we have the current folks that know about our committee.
So that's agenda item 2 that we're pretty much wrapping up here. No action needed on that. So if everyone's okay, then we'll move on to agenda item 3, review the proposed budget for fiscal year 2027. No action needed there, but I assume there's a presentation.
There is a presentation, Michelle Nelson, Senior Management Analyst for our Public Works Department. I'll be walking through the fiscal year 2027 proposed budget, what that all entails. Reminder, as you are all well aware, the purview of this committee is to review our proposed budget for the coming fiscal year. We do that around April timeframe, and then also review the actuals for the previous year, and we do that October-ish timeframe. So we're great.
We might also add, there is a formal audit
Yeah.
by an auditor.
Oh, yes.
So in the past, we said, we assume the audit's done correctly.
Yeah.
Thank you, goodbye. Right, I mean, essentially,
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
they do a formal audit.
they do.
And that's what we're trying to do is by the law of when with the bond issue.
Right, exactly. So, review and ensure and oversee that we are adhering to what is in that ballot measure. So, that will lead me into giving you a little update on our fiscal year 2027 budget development process. So where we're at right now, staff have been working over the last probably 6 months or so to develop the budget that you're going to see today. That budget has been vetted by our Office of Management and Budget here at the city, our CFO, and our city manager's office. We've packaged it up, prepared to present to you all, to this committee today, and then hopefully garner your recommendation to our finance committee during budget hearings. The fiscal year 2027 proposed budget hearings for our finance committee are Tuesday, May 6th and Wednesday, May 7th. Do I have those days right? Let me check. Yes, Tuesday. No, Tuesday is the 5th, Wednesday is the 6th of May. So, this budget starts with fiscal year 2027 proposed budget starts with a fee revenue increase that is also dictated by the ballot measure. We, under the parameters of the ballot measure, are allowed to increase fees by annual CPI each year or 6%, whichever is lesser. So this year, the annual CPI index for the area is 3%. So we've updated fee revenues 3%. 3%.
That was nice. Remember
3.0.
Remember that. Gasoline's only doubled.
Check our social
Yeah.
security.
Yeah.
Diesel, I mean, I don't even know how a trucker works.
I know.
mean, it's unbelievable.
3%.
So, and it's based on a certain index too, so keep that in mind, right? It's
We use
not
the
on,
Bay Area, so
Bay
the
Area.
Bay Area index, and that's the standard index we use across the city for general CPI index or CPI increases like this. That equates to $270,000 in fiscal year 2027 of increased revenue. So that's what you will see in the revenue increases. The operating expenses, we have very minimal adjustments outside of the revenue of the fee revenue alignment, and then some general CPI increases and staffing increases through contract. Let's see, no changes to maintenance or GSI or innovative project budgets. Those are going to stay set at what the ballot measure set them at. Brief update on capital. This is just kind of a really brief overview. We'll get into more detail on all of this as well. We do have some planned reappropriations of funds in one-time capital projects. So what that means is we have an adopted budget for the one-time projects, and we won't be spending it all in fiscal year 2026. So we are going to reappropriate it to 2027. So when you're looking at our proposed budget in the budget book that's published and some of these slides that we'll look at, you'll see some dollars in there that include already approved and adopted budget numbers, just shifting them to next fiscal year.
But they don't show up in each year.
So we'll get into those on the slides. I've broken
Okay.
it down. When you look at the main budget book, it gets kind of confusing because it can show up in there. But I've broken out the slides a couple of ways for you guys to see that movement. One of the main points, which I think later on in this presentation, Michelle Jeremiah here will speak to, we have shifted Lewis Road forward in the 5-year plan. It was previously adopted in fiscal year 2027. We're moving it forward a couple of years, which when we get to CIP updates, Michelle will share the strategy on moving that. So that is a change to what was adopted in fiscal year 2026. We're shifting Lewis Road forward to 2027 design, 2028 construction, where previously it was in 2029. Okay, we can move on to our first budget slide. I keep with the same template and format since we've started this ballot measure, just for familiarity and keeping things uniform. Today we are, focused on the proposed budget for fiscal year 2027. I like to provide you with some context in what that means. So you see, I also have fiscal year 2025 adopted in actuals, as well as 2026, which is the current year adopted, projections of where we were at. This is a couple weeks ago now, and then our projections on where we look like we'll end this fiscal year. Just have some context when you're looking at the 2027 budget, how it compares to the last couple of years. So the first section is the revenues. The main component of that is our fee revenue. You can see there from the adopted 2026 to the proposed 2027, that $270,000 increase I was speaking to, that equates to the 3% CPI. So that's there in the fee revenue. We have some lesser revenues, the interest earnings, and then violation fines and development review. The violation fines and the development review fees are entirely variable and dependent upon external factors and activities. Fines, ideally, we don't really want to have much revenue on fines, but it's a budget line item. And development review fees is, based upon what kind of
So if you
development
don't meet
activities.
that number, you have to get tougher on people. But
Yeah, ideally we don't want to meet our fine budget, but
Can I,
yeah, of course, I'll break between each section. Yeah.
so fees are for each utility user. Do those change year to year? The number of,
So who we're charging the fee to?
yes.
Yes, I am not as well versed as you are on how we are charging the ERU to residents and businesses. Maybe you could speak a little bit to how
I
we
mean,
charge.
it's
How we
probably not
assess.
much, but I'm just wondering.
So we do charge the fees to the resident. It's basically similar to any other utility, your water,
Mhm.
gas, wastewater, whatever. So you charge the fees. The fees for residential, there's broken down based on parcel size. So we
Okay.
collect a certain amount, and then based on the commercial businesses, business campuses, those pay based on impervious areas. So we calculate a certain amount. It's basically on the ballot measure was 2,500 square feet of impervious areas is 1 ERU. And we do the math, and then that gets charged routinely, whether or not the parcel is developed or undeveloped. So it's kind of an ongoing thing. As development projects occur, we reevaluate those fees. It's sort of working with other departments as well, the development center, working with our utilities, revenues. So we do work with them. They don't change so much. They do change, but I think collectively everyone's paying for their fees. And when the rates go up, then automatically those rates go up.
Sure.
But for the most part, I think single family residents, the parcel sizes aren't going to change. Parcel sizes, which are a large portion of our parcels, you're either a 6,000 square foot or you're over 11,000 square foot. So you're not changing too much.
but not the cover. I mean, it don't change if they have impervious versus pervious or anything.
For the most part, I think the changes are occurring, but again, it's not going to affect us. We're basically on residential parcels. We go based on the parcel size, not the imperviouses. Where the impervious comes in is for the business campuses, for the office spaces. Those are the commercial properties. Those are the ones that we calculate, and those change. And those could change, especially as more parcels are being developed.
I'm sorry, I should have made myself clearer. There's a lot of pressure to increase housing.
Yeah.
And I suspect that the number of single-family
Yeah.
homes is not going to increase in any significant fashion, but what happens to, multifamily, family units?
Yeah.
Aren't those utility users that have
We
to
would-
pay a fee?
Yes, they would pay a fee, but we would charge them based on our ERU. So we look at an entire parcel. So for example, we would look at the impervious area that those properties are generated, and
So the
then,
entire building
And-
gets a,
so there would be
Gets it.
like, for example, a
Okay.
master, service, so that the master pays for the entire, say it's a 5-unit parcel that gets subdivided, we would find somebody for the contract. So maybe it's part of the, agreement for that development, that this is how we break it down. And then they could decide to split that for each of the 5 residences that contribute to it. So that way it's either one followed by one main house, meter, not meter, but a service versus each individual. For example, somebody sells that property, they're still paying for it, so everybody else who's contributing to that, service would still contribute to it.
So the customers, they accepted what you're doing, you think? Anybody tried to fight it?
I don't see that there's any
Okay,
issues with
good.
it. I mean, I haven't heard of any.
Well, I mean, they're fighting over ADUs and all that
Yeah,
stuff all the
but
time.
for example, so the single family residence is also includes duplexes. So even if you're adding another ADU on a property, that's still considered as a single family residence. So we don't consider that any separate. It's when you're dealing with more than 2 distinct residents that we start counting it as a multifamily or commercial property
multifamily is just based on the,
impervious area.
okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, one other item of note on the revenue that I've spoken before, but I want to continue to call attention to, under the other revenue category, the bulk of that is the EPA grant that we have, Environmental Protection Agency, for GSI and City Park. And we will hear more about that later in the agenda from Pam, who's online, what that project is. Right now, that grant is sitting in adopted fiscal year 2026. And not showing in the proposed of 2027. However, whatever is not reimbursed will ultimately be reappropriated and shown in the 2027 line item. But we're keeping it in 2026 now until we close out the year and see how much reimbursement we get. Again, the main
Quick question.
Yeah,
So the EPA grant has stayed as it is, or were there any changes?
There have been no changes to the dollar amount approved and authorized on that grant. We've spent a little bit. And then as we ramp up the project, the grant is a reimbursement-based construction grant that we have actually in coordination with the city of Santa Clara. As we expend towards that project, then we can file reimbursements to the EPA and receive the income and then draw down that revenue that you'll see here, and that adopted line will shift to increase the actuals, lower the adopted until we get full reimbursement.
Oh.
But the dollar amount has not changed as of yet.
And can I ask which project areas this grant is for?
So Juana Briones Park, and we will have a more detailed presentation later on in the agenda from Pam, who will be talking specifically about this project as well as other projects too. So that one is a really interesting one for
A
sure.
little bit worried about EPA money. maybe.
Yeah, kind of,
No?
Not for this
No,
one.
Okay,
No, not for this one. So,
good.
yeah, not yet.
Not yet. No cause for
Cut
concern yet.
by 2/3 already.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just wondering whether there is a need to prioritize utilizing that early one
The
later.
challenge is getting it done. It takes time. So, and staff resources. So, but there's a lot of, with the municipal regional stormwater permit requirements, we're working through it, so. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we'll have more, again, opportunity to talk about that specific project. We definitely included that on the agenda for that reason. Okay, ready to move on from revenues? Okay, expenses for this fee are split up into the base program and then projects and infrastructure program. So that's how I try to present you guys our fiscal information here. So the base program, that's going to be your flood control improvement, water quality protection, emergency response, our in-house maintenance of the storm drain, kind of all those day-to-day operations to keep things moving. Administrative staffing costs are a lot, most of which are found in this section. Again, the increases on these items are mostly CPI, if anything. CPI and staffing increases based on bargaining unit contracts between the city and those.
Street cleaning deal, is that, could it continue?
Street sweeping is in the refuse fund, actually. So that's not paid for out of our stormwater management fee. Street sweeping is paid for out of our refuse fund. So that you see in your refuse bill for
So
garbage.
as far as we know, it'll just keep going.
Correct, it is
Oh,
still
yeah.
going.
We have, that's also in public works, so you're asking the right people.
Correct. Correct.
Yes, it's all connected, right? But it is funded out of a different bucket of money, but it's going to keep continuing on.
Correct.
Yeah, for sure.
Correct.
Yeah. If you're ever interested in that, we can send you some details on that.
I have a quick question
Yeah.
about emergency response.
Of
So
course.
I take it that the storms this year didn't, we did
Anna.
have some storms, but they didn't really cause any challenges. Is that correct? Were there any issues that came up?
I think we had nothing significant
Yeah.
that I recall, but I do recall a few trees, branches. So we did have crews stand by. I think we had equipment staged just in case. Like
I
we
saw
did with
that
the
around the
process. So I
city.
think we've had a few, but I don't think we had anything major that I'm aware of.
Well, I figured from
Yeah.
the numbers that that's what the case was.
Yeah, but I mean, sometimes we may have something, for example, in instance we don't know, like we have to, something breaks one of the main lines or something breaks. In those cases, we have to have a crew go out there and replace it immediately.
Right.
Or more trees in the creek. I think 2 years ago, the storm washed a lot of the big tree branches
Right.
out. So, yeah.
But we did get some FEMA 2 years ago, so that didn't totally hit our storm fund a couple years ago. I will say on the emergency response, this is, on that line item is just a linear projection. I do think it'll probably end up being less than this 145,000 projection on here, just because, you know, the storm season is ending. We did have, but somewhere in between the to-date actuals and the projections on that one. And
Same section, sorry.
yeah, please.
The stormwater quality protection, and in general, a lot of the expenses seems like it's now April, we have already used a bunch of that, and the projections for many of them are higher. Can
Yeah.
you speak to that a little bit? And particularly, I was interested in the stormwater quality protection.
So again, I just did a linear projection on that one. Where we're at to date 2 weeks ago was, you know, I anticipate for the water quality protection line item that we will probably come in very close to adopted budget, if not slightly lower. It's hard with those ones because some of the budget is contract based, and so it's a timing thing. It's not really ideal to do a linear projection. Some of these buckets within there. So timing is a piece, but I don't anticipate us coming in over budget like this. And if you look back at previous years, we usually come in right around, like 2025, you can see usually coming right around what's there, but that also does include staff time, which can be somewhat out of our control sometimes with the contracts with the bargaining units.
And
Timing.
someone just retires, so we'll have extra money for staff.
Yeah, and then vacancies will
This one.
affect
Is this year.
what's in there.
At least this year.
At
Yeah,
least
for-
this year.
At least this year, if we look like we're spending higher, we won't.
But I don't think, and I can pull up if you guys are interested, some several years back.
Yeah.
Budget to actuals, and on all of this, really, I have it all on the file. It's just collapsed down for, otherwise it would be
Yeah.
10 years long, but I don't think we've ever come in over budget on that area. Honestly, where the only places we've ever really come in over budget are in that base program component for our in-house crews, overtimes with storms and whatnot. That's kind of more the area that we come in over budget.
Yeah.
But we'll definitely keep an eye on that, yeah, and I can look at how to better project out on that line item too, and break it out a little further. If that's something you guys are more interested in, I can look at that too.
Sure.
Okay, moving on to the project and infrastructure program section. That's gonna have our 13 standalone capital projects. That's the capital improvement projects bold line. Our storm drain system repairs is the recurring rehab capital project. And then we have the debt service, which dropped off a couple years ago. We have the engineering staff that was added under the ballot measure. Then we have the green municipal infrastructure funding and the innovative projects funding. I have a little asterisk that didn't seem to print on here. This screen is not going to show the reappropriations that I referred to earlier, so that is not double counted. I want you guys to see the clear picture of what was adopted without kind of those shifts around. It can be confusing when you're looking at a one-time project that the budget might keep moving to different years, but the overall budget always stays the same and doesn't draw down our reserves any further. So those reappropriations are not reflected in this picture that we're looking at here. And then I have another table, same data, just kind of grouped and bucketed a little differently and rolled up some of the revenues so that you can see kind of the most important fee revenue. Rolled up some of those base programs so that you can see them in larger buckets, and then break down the project infrastructure in a little bit more detail. So you can see what makes up the GSI, what makes up the innovative projects. But it's the same dollars, just chopped up a little different. However, is easier for you guys to digest.
And we can send you the one without the packet numbers over the numbers, so you can actually.
Wait, what? Oh, I have my own.
Yeah, the packet number right over the actual numbers, so.
Oh,
The page
well,
number.
let's, on the one that we were looking at before too, or just on
Yeah.
this one?
And then
Yeah, here,
Copy we got in the PDF.
Let me see.
see that?
Oh yeah, that's annoying. Let me tell you what that number is. That number is 1241. 1241.
Yeah, it just unfortunately
Yeah.
automatically propagated it right over.
Yeah.
The joy of seeing that it's helpful and not helpful at the same
So
time.
that's why I printed my own. I'm like, wait, what?
Well, I know,
I
but
have my
It's
own.
the test to see if we've paying
it's a
attention.
test to be sure you
Somebody's
guys are paying attention. I'm looking at them.
And then on the next one, it's the 9776 that you see in the total expenses on our previous one.
Yeah. Since we're required to put the packet numbers on the thing. Yeah.
Well, maybe I'll have to work with Mariah next time to manipulate my slides so it doesn't go like that.
Yeah, we'll have to figure this out better.
Okay. Now let's move on to the next slide, some budget information on the projects themselves. This does include our reappropriations. So this is gonna show you where, and I think this is, and if it's not, please, I welcome any feedback. I think when we're looking at the big picture of the fund, we just wanna see what was for each one of these projects, what's adopted. And then when we drill down and look at the projects themselves, let's see where those reappropriations move, what years they're going into, kind of in a more granular look here. So you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the 13 ballot measure projects in the 5-year CIP. Most of them are in the coming years, and I'll speak to that in just a minute. Fiscal year 2026, our Office of Management and Budget added this Stormwater Management Fund Administration CIP, SD 26002. That is how the Office of Management and Budget is tracking the salary and benefits on this, on all funds across the whole city, actually. When you're looking at the budget book, every fund will have a similar project. It's a cleaner way for them to break out the salary and benefits spending, because when they were charging them to the individual projects, it wasn't showing up in salary and benefits. It was showing up as construction dollars based on what timing, and it just kind of got convoluted and skewed, the actual project hard costs that we want to be able to be really transparent about. So they pulled them out, put them in this admin CIP, but that is our staff cost for the whole program, for the whole CIP program. Those costs do include support staff, small pieces of support staff, like our accounting department has a little bit of FTE in those dollars as well. And then we have the 2 other projects that are not part of the 13 adopted, the rehab at the very top and the GSI at the very bottom.
So when I look at this table, it looks like there aren't any other CIP projects in 2029 and beyond.
Yet. So that's where we'll talk about
There are
highlighted
some
sections.
left over. Yes.
We still have, I believe, 5 projects that we need to budget. You're not seeing them planned. I'll remind everybody, the 5-year CIP, only the first year of that is budgeted. So right now we're working on the 2027 to 2031. Only the first year, 2027, is actually budgeted. The 4 out years are just a plan.
Okay.
And then when we get to them, there is an intentional reason we don't have anything budgeted here. And this, if anybody was following along with our finance committee rate adoption last week, which will be kind of the next slides we get to, we are doing a lot of analysis and work on the remaining years of this ballot measure and the remaining CIPs that we have to construct. The CIPs, the 13 CIPs that were adopted in the ballot measure, were defined by the 2015 Storm Drain Master Plan. And our estimates for those projects are from the 2015 Storm Drain Master Plan. So we're now in 2026. So those numbers are most likely out of date. We do our design in-house, and at this point in time, we don't have any better estimate than those 2015 numbers, but we are fairly certain that those numbers are not going to be what they end up costing. So in the financial projections that I've done that we've talked about in previous years on this committee, I anticipate that we would have sufficient budget to build those projects at the estimates from the 2015 master plan. So TBD if we will have funding, sufficient funding. We don't know what those bids can come in at. So myself, Michelle Holly Boyd, who's the Assistant Director of Public Works Engineering Services, and Brad Eggleston, our Public Works Director, have been looking at this and trying to get some information on how much the projects that we have completed ended up costing in comparison with the 2015 storm drain plan, the ones that are in construction, how they're projecting to end in comparison to the storm drain, 2015 storm drain master plan, to try to give us some information on what the next projects might cost. We are certainly in the 2028 budget going to start programming some of these projects. We've already started to play around with where we could put them in the out years of the ballot measure. We'll have to start doing some preliminary design work on Michelle's team to decide if even the scope of those projects is still exactly relevant, based on some of the other work that's happened. Maybe the scope is lesser, maybe it's more. So there's a lot more work that needs to be done on the fiscal side and then on the technical side to kind of see where we're landing in terms of sufficient funds in the ballot measure. It's hard to say, and it'll be hard to say until we get another one out to bid. Probably, I would think that until we get another one out to bid in construction, I don't know how much our projections will be more than just a guess.
And I was gonna add, one of the things to keep in mind is also, even though the ballot measure took into effect in 2017, Rajiv was working on the Matadero Creek pump station, which was a carryover from the previous ballot measure. In addition to that, I think we needed to accumulate enough funding in order to start some of these CIPs. So there was a little bit of a delay between when we finished, when this ballot measure took in, and the first project that we started working on. Vicky was working on Loma Verde, and I think that was during COVID. So there was in-house design that took place. So we are mindful of the projects. I think that there's a couple of projects, some that may be easier than others, that we can try to take a look at. But we've also sort of changed some of our priorities given some of the flooding events that have happened, meaning that some projects get advanced of others.
What would be examples of that?
So the one that we advanced, Hamilton Avenue and Center. So those two projects that were lower in the priority list, and they were in 13 projects, but we moved that one ahead of Lewis Road, those two ahead of Lewis Road, given the New Year's Eve events and the flooding that occurred. In addition to that, we're also tackling in rehab work outside of 13 projects, and some of that was also brought to light to maybe prioritize Allister as a rehab project, which is the area around Duveneck that was flooded. So we're taking some of those in right now as we speak.
Yeah. I will also say, I think we'll get some more information on being able to estimate and project out these projects once we move into design and construction preparations for Center and Lewis. Those are the next two. Also on here, you'll notice the rehab CIP is only set at 300,000 per year. The ballot measure allows for about double that in these years. But that's a lever that we are able to kind of shift a little bit if we need to reduce the funding in that CIP a little bit to divert it to the other ones we can. So those out years, 28 through 31, you'll see there's only 300,000. The ballot measure, I believe, allows for closer to 600 in those out years right now. But we've set it a little bit more conservatively to, just allow for what may come.
Yeah, every time you build something, there's an O&M function that goes with it, and that is not going down. So you're at some point, you have to balance it, I would think, because you got to keep what you got going.
Yeah.
And then you add something else, and now it adds more, and that's where back to this very first thing I was talking about. Some O&M costs are got to be going way up. I mean, they have to be. So
Yes and no. I mean, we're replacing 12-inch pipes for 48-inch pipes.
Actually
So,
creates efficiencies.
It's part of both.
yeah, I
Okay.
mean, but there would be an O&M, for example, for the pump stations, but for the two pump stations that Rajiv's working on right now, so there will be an O&M, and that's new because they're brand new stations, but they're small stations. But it's better than the flooding
Yeah,
and
the costs that we have
maintenance.
spend on maintenance of old infrastructure and emergency response, I think balances out somewhat the ongoing O&M in those pump stations. The other infrastructure creates efficiencies.
I just want to say thank you for explaining the intent of this table.
Yes,
And
this is important.
That really clears things up. And also, I guess sort of core to the committee's purpose is to also learn more about how you're handling the future planning. I mean, it also goes back to some other stuff that we've dealt with in the committee, and I'm looking forward to seeing that and understanding it better. because that's kind of why we're here. So, and I'd like to know if any of the other committee members have something to add on their, or questions on that for the future,
No, I think you covered it.
or, okay.
Well, I do think it's our responsibility to look at all the 13 projects. And if any of those, I know it's unfair to ask, but if any of those might fall off
Well, under the
ability to do
last
it.
ballot measure, one of them did shift into
Right.
this ballot measure. So
Yeah,
that
which-
did happen. I also want to say, the remaining projects, one of them is one of the most costly of the 13, but the other ones in magnitude are far less. So I think a couple of them are around $300,000 from the 2015 estimate. I think one of them is maybe 600,000. So, in the magnitude compared to some of these others that are, you see, Corporation Way was like 4 million, Hamilton 7. So even if say, worst case scenario, it comes in double, it's 600,000 instead of 300,000. It's not great, but the impact is not as dire. There is one, and
Lewis.
Lewis? No, there's another one. Fabian?
No, even small.
One of them is 6.9 million
Yeah.
of the 2015 master plan estimate. So that one will be the one to keep our eye on. But I do want to tell the committee, why we do have 5 projects left. 4 of those 5 are far, far lower cost and magnitude based on the 2015 master plan estimate. So just to keep in perspective, we do have that one really big one, but all 5 of them aren't upwards of 5 million.
And maybe that's something we can put on the agenda for future where we're at, because we're not there yet. So
Yeah,
Um,
so this
and-
is something we'll be
Yeah.
talking about with the finance committee.
Yeah.
And
then
then
we can come back.
we can come back. I do have
Yeah.
a financial document that projects out
Yeah.
the rest of this ballot measure through 2032
Mhm.
with the rest of the projects built in. And like I said, that document, if the estimates come in based on the 2015 estimates, we're fine, we're great. Enough for reserves, enough for everything. The likelihood that that's gonna happen is not great,
But your crystal ball, right?
right?
So
It's
I think actually for today's agenda item, we've covered everything.
Yes, we have.
It's just, I think, a
Yeah, for
feeling
future.
that we should pay maybe increasing attention in future meetings to how the future is. starting to
Yes,
paint.
and I think that's very smart of you, and especially now that we're, halfway through the ballot measure fee, and we're getting, 7 years out, 6 years out from the end, right? Is that right? 7?
Which is awesome.
Which is great, but we need to
Congratulations
start
for all the
thinking
work you've
about,
accomplished.
how we're gonna finish it out,
And do we need,
sure.
and then we're gonna need to update the master plan again, and then do we need to go back out to the
Yeah.
voters?
Right.
And
again?
it
So that's
is
what we
a
need to think about.
little tricky because
Yeah.
for the first few years of this ballot measure, we weren't able to do any capital projects because we had to build up
Right.
the revenues in order to pay for it. So that just puts us that farther removed from the 2015 estimates.
Right.
And so not being able to kind of jump on them because we had to wait for those reserves to build up kind of, puts us towards constructing up the latter half of the 15 years, but that's where we're at now. More information to come, and we're looking at the information that we do have. And once Michelle and Rajiv and Vicky start delving into design on Center and Lewis, I think we'll have some more information and then be able to refine our estimates and projections.
Great.
Michelle, maybe not for today, but maybe in the future, one of the future meetings, maybe we can have just a glimpse of what 2015 looked like, what those projections look like.
Sure, yeah. I think we have that on one of these next slides, actually. It's super interesting. Yeah. I think Michelle's got a map. My computer died on me. Oh, no, here it is. I think we have a map if we're ready. Well,
We gotta do that.
I think we have that later in the
Yeah.
agenda.
Yeah.
But let's get to and we can talk about all of this
So I
as
think,
much as we want.
I think we're ready to move on from this particular agenda item. Okay, and move on, if that's okay with everyone. And then we're gonna move on to the next one, which is about the memorandum for fiscal year 2027 proposed budget. And this is something we do every year. And let's see where we're at with the memo as presented in the packet, proposed memo. And actually, I have a question about the proposed memo that's in the packet, but I'll let you all kick it off. Do you have any comments?
To move it forward, may I move the adoption of this proposed memo?
Well, actually, I have a question about the proposed
Okay.
memo. So then we will, I'll come back to you, Karen.
Good.
Okay. So in the memo that we agreed to last year, there was a sentence that we inserted about actually the future and whether we, well, I can read you, it's not in this memo, so I can read it to you.
Please.
Based on current staff analysis, there is no indication that present funds will be insufficient to complete the 13 capital improvement projects. So my question that I came to this meeting with was, what happened to that sentence and what are we going to do about it, if anything?
I think we intentionally took it out of this memo because of what we just talked about.
I see.
I would say again, kind of the update to that sentence from a fiscal standpoint is we have sufficient, I anticipate that we would have sufficient funds to complete all 13 projects at the estimate from the 2015 Storm Drain Master Plan. That's the reality of that is it doesn't, I mean.
But you understand why we put that sentence in.
Absolutely, yeah.
In that
I don't know if you want to put it in again, that's up to you guys.
Well, I sort of just asked the question
I think
in the presentation.
future cost projections are difficult right now.
Right.
Right now,
Asphalt's got to triple, diesel's tripled. I mean, everything that you use to build something, if we're building things, we can't say it's going to be just do. You know?
Yeah, right.
It's a tough time right now.
Right. We have the reserves to pay for what we have the reserves to pay for this. As far as, this is for a fact, we have the reserves to pay for this. The rest of the projects,
We don't know.
We're tracking well. It will depend on the design, the scope that comes out of design, the final scope. And I think once we get some bids in on Center and Lewis, we'll have a lot more information.
And what about something to the effect of staff is continuing to evaluate, based on, current conditions or something.
Right.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
But
Whatever you guys are
as
comfortable
they
with
change,
putting in the memo.
But you just explained something that I was impressed with, that, how complicated it is to take the 2015 ballot measure and bring it up to date. And to me, that's something that I needed to hear. I think the committee needed to hear that.
Okay.
And it would be great if this memo somehow reflected that, what I think is a very positive and responsible activities going on. I don't know the language.
You
So
can
could we
say,
propose, like, staff is continuing to evaluate and monitor the projections of what was in the 2015 ballot measure of the 13 projects to current construction dollars.
I mean, you still have some breakdowns of what we're doing, right? And
I mean, that
so
could be one thing,
some
right?
of the breakdowns are going to change. I mean, there are. I mean, because especially if it's physical or if it's equipment related or anything, right?
Because I don't think that sentence is any accurate anymore. I
They
thought
just continue
last
to be
year.
evaluated. Is all I can say, right?
So I brought it up because I noticed the change.
Yeah.
I'm not criticizing or doing the opposite. I was just asking the question.
Yeah.
But as I reread the memo, every time I reread this memo, so this is about this one is about the 2027 budget.
Yeah.
So what happens after 2027 may not be relevant to the memo. I mean, I don't know. I mean, this is very specific, and I don't really
Good point.
know how this and the finance committee and the city council read these.
Yeah.
But if this is extremely specific to the 2020, to the annual proposed budget, then maybe talking about future risks or estimates is not relevant.
Mhm.
On the other hand,
Yep.
on the other hand, as a member of this committee, I
Mhm.
think it is not that it's actually kind of prudent
I
to
think so.
say that we, as working with the staff, are also looking forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I don't know what a good way to
I
say
know.
that is.
And I think that's, you hit the nail on the head. The reason we haven't had a future looking sentence in there historically is because, you know, we're recommending the 2027, but like I said, as we get deeper into, you know, the 15 years and closer to the end, I think we have to look ahead and we have to start, and our finance committee is as well, thinking how we're gonna wrap this up. So I don't think it's inappropriate to put a future looking sentence in there. I don't know that that sentence is one we want to put
Okay,
in there.
so-
I don't think that's a clear picture, but we could certainly and probably should put something about the future.
Okay, so I would be very open to removing the sentence that was in last year's memo as written and coming up with something that's more appropriate to 2027 memo, but I don't really know how to
Maybe you
phrase
say
that.
something like this committee and staff has had discussion on the future fiscal outlook of the ballot measure and has planned to do that at future meetings, something like that, yeah.
Or continue to.
Recognize the complexities associated with the components that create the project,
Right.
whether it's cost driven based on staff or cost driven based on contractors availability or the price of oil that's gone up. So I think,
Yeah, I think we should say something along the lines of, and help me out with this, the committee, because this is from the committee, right? The committee recognizes that
Mhm.
staff is, fancy way to say that,
Continuing to
is
evaluate.
is continuing to evaluate the, I don't know what, the availability or the resources. Something like that the future is, continuing to keep an eye on future revenue and expenditures.
It's really the assumptions that go into this estimate.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you just continue to evaluate your assumptions. That's typically what you do. And yeah, so if the assumption 90% of it is based on fuel, then but if it's only 2%, so you just look at your assumptions and continue to.
Yeah.
Because it's a weird time right now.
Mhm. And we
I like
only
it.
have the 2015 master plan estimates to work off right now. Once this team gets into design, they'll have a much clearer picture of what the estimates of these projects will be.
Yeah.
But we can't start doing that really just yet for all of the I mean, maybe we can. We have some internal discussions on
Yeah,
what's going on
that's
with
okay.
that,
Let's come
but-
up with some actual verbiage that we can get
Yeah.
into onto the memo. I don't know who, we have to do that. We should do that.
We should do that.
We should do that right now. So did anybody write down anything?
I wrote, committee recognizes staff is continuing to evaluate the future revenue and assumptions that goes into this estimate.
Yeah, to revenue and expenditures or expenses.
And
Did you say?
design work, I guess, and the design work that is in progress.
This is a key piece, yes.
Thank you, Michelle, for writing that down.
Yeah, really.
So the committee held a discussion on the fiscal outlook and the 13 projects included in the ballot measure with particular attention to the complexity of the individual project components.
Right.
And staff is continuing to evaluate and monitor the 2015 ballot measure, and then we can also, and then maybe that we're gonna try and do something else, like bringing it up to current dollars. Yeah, I don't know, I'm trying to.
I maybe not get into the weeds
Right,
on that.
so
But
maybe-
the committee recognizes.
Maybe we just had the committee and staff held a discussion on the fiscal outlook on the 13 projects included in the ballot measure and just keep it at that.
Yeah,
And that's enough,
say that
right?
again.
The committee and staff held a discussion on the fiscal outlook on the 13 projects included in the ballot measure.
And we can probably say, and it doesn't impact the current budget.
Right.
That would be great.
Staff will come back.
And that
Yeah.
staff will return and continue this discussion.
Yeah, we will continue this discussion.
Okay, so do we have enough in the notes to
Yeah.
move forward? And then what I recommend is what we did last year, which I thought was very good, was staff sent out the revised
Yeah.
memo
Yep.
and said, you have until this particular day, and if we don't get any responses
We're just
back,
gonna move
then
on.
we're moving forward. And I thought that
I
was
remember
nice.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll let you guys have input and make sure the language is exactly
Yeah.
how you want it to look.
But give us a deadline.
Oh, yeah.
And if you don't get it back, if you don't get input from us, then it's good.
I think
Okay,
I suggested a comma or something.
That
good.
was good.
We
Yeah,
love
Megan read
good.
it.
Excellent.
We love comments.
Anyway, how are we doing on this conversation? Are we?
I
good?
like that you brought it up because we
Yep.
talked about it and it didn't show up in this.
Right.
Here.
Yeah, and I miss Dina, so she was the one who championed this extra language.
I think like
Something.
you said, prudent language to include at this point in
Good.
time. Yeah.
Okay, so if we're all good, the committee's good. Do I get a motion to move forward on revising it and then finalizing it by email?
So moved.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second, oh yeah.
Okay, thank
So
you.
this is-
Oh, she got the second. Okay, then we have a vote. Everybody good? No,
Aye.
any nays? No. Okay. Well, thank you very much, staff, for all that extra information and careful discussion. It's much appreciated.
And the work you're gonna be doing. That's kind of mind numbing.
She
It's
loves
fun. We like it.
Okay, so moving right along, where are we? Stormwater management fee rate increase, no action needed.
No action needed. We did go last week to the finance committee to get approval of the rate increase. I talked about this few minutes ago. The proposed increase is a 3% CPI, equates to 278,000. We included, in case you guys didn't get a chance to see, we included the presentation we gave to the finance committee.
Very short and sweet.
Very short and sweet. They had not a lot of questions in that staff report. We did also say that essentially we are not sure if we're gonna have sufficient funding. So we did say that in that staff report. We are, staff is not sure, or I don't remember the exact language, but it was essentially to the effect that we don't know that we'll have sufficient funding or not, and that we will continue these discussions at the finance committee budget hearings and into the future. So they did say that they were looking forward to having more discussion on that end during those budget hearings in May. So follow along. We will be having more discussion with them and getting some feedback on how we can proceed and what outlook to take and what strategies to take. But the presentation here is kind of breaking down the components of the fee. 55% is for the base, 45% goes to project and infrastructure, kind of the details. This is a pretty standard item whenever you're increasing utility rate. You got to get the approval from the finance committee to do so. So it's kind of just a standard operating information, but we did want to share the slides with you. And if we move on to the map here is what you guys were interested in, the 2015 storm drain master plan estimates are on this map. So you can see, no, are they not?
They are.
Yeah, okay. Sorry. And then also some information on the projects that are completed now, where we are on the ones that are in progress and the ones that are not started. So those black ones are the remaining ones that aren't started and aren't budgeted. And you can see, it is Lewis Road, that's 659.
So,
by the way, I love this graphic.
Isn't it
I love
great,
the map
Michelle?
with the statuses and all the extra information. My one little question is, when was it last updated?
I want to say this map, there's two maps. So there's this
Yeah.
one and there's the other one that you've seen.
Yeah.
That you saw at the board commission.
Yeah.
This one was probably updated I want to say because it says design of Hamilton, so this one was probably last year. But this map needs to be replaced with the one you saw last week.
So I would have to look at the one I saw last week again.
Yeah.
But I would think it would be valuable for those looking at the content to know when it was last updated. So if it
Yeah.
could be like a small little updated date somewhere in there. I know there's just a lot going on, but
Yeah.
it's just a little question I have.
Yeah, and
Anyway,
I'll
we
send
can-
the committee, the one that we shared, the commission presentation,
Yeah.
because that has a different map.
Right.
The finance committee, this one had to get published before the finance committee had the updated map that Michelle gave me. This one was published before. That makes sense.
Yeah, okay. I was
So we
just-
have a few maps that are they're all the same content, just that hers was a little bit.
It makes sense. I think at one point we used to have the date on it.
Yeah, I thought
published
you
on it.
did,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think
And then
we
it
dropped
just,
it
well, you
somewhere.
have a lot
Yeah.
going on, so, okay, just a little comment there. All right.
But no, there's lots of maps, lots of detail.
So the rate increase meeting went fine?
The one fine, and now, so that was the finance committee meeting.
Right.
It was probably the fastest rate increase approval ever, which is great after the meeting the night before that we're at. So you were all blessed that your committee chair decided to stay at council till 11 o'clock at
I
night,
know.
Michelle and I. So
And
you can
present,
thank her, and she presented for you on Monday night, last week, so you can thank her for that.
The question remained with the finance committee too, and I think everybody,
Yeah.
is 3% enough? Unfortunately, our hands are tied for the
Yeah.
ballot measure that we can't do more, but, the questions that you have are the same as our larger finance committee, and they're important questions to be asking and looking at, and, also something to be thinking about as we develop our next ballot
It's
measure.
all capacity upgrades, that's what I see here total. And so the basis of the capacity upgrade has to be in part land use change, right?
I don't think so. No,
Or
not,
water?
I don't think there's any land use.
the only,
Quick
you
look at
mean
that.
land use associated with these projects? These individual projects?
I think that was.
We came close to land use on Corporation Way because we needed to encroach in private property and secure easements. We have another project here in the pipeline that's gonna get us the same. East Charleston's gonna be another one that's gonna be fascinating to work on. But land use doesn't change. Land use for most of these are all in the public road right away.
So the capacity issue.
It's
is-
the capacity is the storm drains. So a lot of these are storm drain systems or 12-inch pipes meant to handle small nuisance flow. But now we've got significant storm events. We've got a lot of private systems that are draining directly into our storm drains. So we're increasing the capacity to 10-year storm events. And the capacity meaning it's the capacity of the storm drain system to convey flows before it overtops or it drains or floods the streets.
If something happened, I mean, everything there is a capacity change.
Yes, correct.
If something drove that.
The master plan. The master plan determined and said from here on out, we're gonna focus on the 10-year storm events. In the past, I don't think we had a storm event that we were designing to. It was,
So the year changed it for one thing. Instead of 2 years, you're going to 20 or something, or 10. Whatever.
right now, I don't know if we can. I mean, we're designing everything to a 10-year storm event and that's the capacity. And a lot of it, it's also, in reality, is our streets have so many other pipes underneath them that it's really hard. You're trying to fit, designing, trying to get around sewer, gas, electric that's actually concrete encased. So we've got a lot of other infrastructure. We really don't have a lot of room. So.
Last master plan was in 1992,
Oh.
so that was very old. So, yes.
Item, yeah. So I don't want to get us too far away from.
Yeah,
our-
we should move
Yeah.
on. If we can, I'd like to move on to agenda
Let's do
item 6, the CIP update.
Perfect, thank you. So I'm gonna start us off, but I'm gonna hand it to Rajiv and Vicky to present the projects. The way we presented this agenda item number 6, I try to convey or try to present to you what the problems have been. As you are well aware of, we've got currently 4 projects under construction, and Vicky's gonna get another one soon, so we'll have 5 projects under construction this remaining spring, summer, fall, winter. Right now, we're focusing on getting the projects built by the end of the year. The first project, I think we focus on primarily for the purposes of today's meeting, just the microtunneling effort. As you remember, Corporation Way, West Bay Shore, and West Bay Shore capacity upgrades, it's 3 projects. 2 pump stations and pipeline upgrades on on both East and West Bay Shore. I've asked Rajiv, though, for the purposes of your benefit, focus primarily on the micro tunneling component. What does it entail? What does it look like? Forget the pump stations right now, forget the wet well, so let's focus on that. Michelle earlier did mention the map, so we kind of briefly looked at the map here. But if you have any other map questions, I refer back to the October presentation that we did last year. That other map that we shared at the commission is in that. So go back to the packet from October, there is mapped in there, and we can also come back at a later date and give you a better perspective once we finish up these.
Yeah.
And briefly, just before we hand it to Rajiv to continue, is right now, as they are wrapping up these projects, all these are slated to be completed by the end of the year. So next year is when we will be picking up a center, the design, and Lewis Road. I think previously, before we had these bids on their projects, as you might recall, Corporation, we went out to bid 3 times. So we kind of pushed out Lewis Road, and there's 2 Lewis Road projects. We pushed out the one project that we could further out because we weren't sure what the cost on his was going to be. So now that we have a cost, now that's under construction, we're bringing it back up to 2027. So once they're wrapped up with the project, one will jump on Center, the other will jump on Lewis Road, both design, and then we can try to schedule construction. With that said, I'm going to leave it up to Rajiv. First slide.
Yeah, the first slide is the micro-tunneling work on East Bay Shore Road. It's about 640 feet length. Originally, the design was for the open cut excavation, but due to a lot of challenges with dewatering, the groundwater tables are depth of 8 feet deep, and the depth of the excavation was 22 feet deep.
Excuse me, the water table is
8 feet deep from the surface.
8 feet from the surface.
And
Okay.
there's all groundwater, and then the whole excavation got 22 feet deep.
Okay.
So there's a lot of shoring work, and there's challenges for the traffic control plan, and there are a lot of other utilities conflicts too. Like there's like a 42 inches sewer line that crosses East Bay Shore and it goes across Highway 101. So that resulted in the conflict to 42 inches sewer pipe, and there's CB gas line. There's a 24 inches PG&E gas line that goes all the way to San Bruno. That's what's right along East Bay Shore. So there are a lot of challenges. So the contractor came back and said, look, there's too many complexities out there, so we want to propose micro-tunneling. So we looked at it and we said, okay, I think this is the viable solution. So we kind of supported it, and then we went through it. So another big advantage was that to open cut, they said that it's going to take like 6 or 7 months to install that 640 millimeter feet of pipe, but the micro-tunneling, they said it's going to take about 4 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks. And I think this last week they completed the 630 feet. They installed it. So the micro-tunneling work is done, and this week I think they're kind of demobilizing and they're doing all the cleanup work. So next slide. So yeah, so the challenges are the sheet piling, storing, protection of the gas line, working during rainy season. The other is there's also other challenges like we have to look at with the settlements. So once this through the micro-tunneling work, we wanted to check if there are no settlements happening on the surface ground, and there's no settlements on the existing utility lines too. So in order to do that, we had to establish utility monitoring points and ground settling monitoring. It's called the SSMP, surface monitoring points. So we kind of look at that. We had our surveys going there, and then go to the next. Okay, we had our sea survey go in there and do all the surveys for all these points every day, making sure that there is no settlements. And the settlement, the limitations are not more than 1 inch.
1 inch.
1 inch. So we kind of monitored every day throughout these 4 weeks, and we found that there was no settlements at all.
1 inch over what depth?
The ground,
Yeah, but
20 feet. So
20 feet.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's not more than 1 inch of settlements. There's a 42 inches sewer pipe that's about like 16 feet deep. So we kind of do the excavator, we pothole, we put a cylinder right, we popped it right on top of the sewer line, and then there was a desk and we monitor the surveys. Every day we monitored that the sewer pipe did not settle, and we found that it didn't settle out of nothing. It was less than 1 inch, but a lot less than 1 inch. So it was within the margin. Those were the challenges, and the other slide.
You scroll down this side.
And the other one I would put on the vertical settlements. So there's a lot of force that is in for the jacking force. There's like maximum capacity like 800 tons, but the force that was used was like about 30 to 60 tons. And we want to make sure that the vertical soils, there was no displacement too. So there was, in order for the vertical displacement, we installed, it's called the inclinometers. You can see there's on the first slide on the top, there's a thrust block over there, and there's an inclinometer over there that does the reading so that there's no displacement of the soil.
Which slide do you want it on?
This is the
Okay.
third
Yeah.
block.
I thought you said you wanted it on the next slide.
This is
I know
the
he
block
went
that
back.
you think over
Okay,
there, there's
I'm
a
like,
pipe over
trying to
there.
help them.
That's the inclinometer. That we can,
So what do you do if it does so?
You did say.
If you don't meet your criteria of 1/10 of the,
but there's a lot of things. First thing, we stop the work, and then they have to do the procedure changes. Like there's a steering, like what the torque is, what the force is, or what the speed is. So maybe they have to make the changes on that. So they try to make the changes on that. If nothing works, then I have not, this is the first time I did a microtunneling work. I don't know what the process of that, but I do know that there's a lot of other operational methods that they have to make an alteration on the torque, on the speed, on the force. Maybe they have to make changes on the jacking force, on the speed, the way the blades, when they start rotating and goes drilling through the tunnel, the torque, the rotation, maybe they have to change, maybe the direction, the way they do the direction on the cutting blades, maybe they have to make changes on that. So those are the things that they can make and change. Apart from that, if that doesn't work, then I don't know. The work stops, but it didn't happen. So we were successful and we completed it last week.
Congratulations on that.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
That's cool.
And the other
Next slide.
next slide, that slide is the operating room, the computer room. That's where everything is monitored, everything is the direction of the microtunneling. They have a laser system that guides the tunneling work. And then, I think they were able to hit the target within 1 inch. The target within a distance about 640 feet. The target point was about 1 inch. The difference was 1 inch within the margin of error. So
And you said that's all on site.
yeah, that's all that operate on the site, and that's
Okay,
the operator working
I
over
believe
there.
you.
Yeah. And the pipe that is used for microtunneling is a special pipe. These are the pipes, is the fiber reinforced pipes. Those pipes are special pipes for microtunneling. The pipes that we use on cities are usually all high density polyethylene pipes, but these are fiber reinforced pipes. The difference is that this has a capacity of 200 tons, a capacity of 200 tons load, whereas our SDP pipes, normal pipes that we install are only 20 tons. So the 20-ton pipe, these are 200 tons. So these are really special pipes. It's not normally used for stormwater, but it's only special purposes like for microtunneling. Next slide. So yeah, this is on the right side, you see this is the hydraulic force. This is where all the hydraulic systems are installed, where they use for the hydraulic forces. This is the water tank that with the city we supplied, we gave it to the contractor to use. From the fire hydrant, we supply water for the cooling purposes of the microtunneling machine. They need a fresh water. They couldn't use it. We have recycled water, but they said that recycled water has a lot of chlorine content in it, so they can't use recycled water for the cooling purpose of the machine. They need fresh water, so this will be provided fresh water, and that's the tank. Next slide. This is the separation tank. Once the hydraulic machine goes through the tunnel, what it does is it does a lot of excavation. Like you need to take the dirt out, right? So for all the dirt, it's a slurry field. It's a slurry with the dirt, and then it's pumped to the separation tank, separation unit over there, and that separates the water with all the dirt. So all the dirt is hauled off. All the water again from the separation, it goes back to the tunnel. I think it is reused. So it just goes through recycling over and over again. And we have all the flow meters and all that out there that show what the total discharge is going to the separation tank and what is the total water that is going back to that's the next slide. That's the one. These are the flow meters. The flow meter going into the tanks and the flow meters. There's a flow meter that shows the water that's going back to the tunneling machine. Next slide. So that's the SSMB, those are the settlements. We monitor the settlements through this disc. Once you open the disc, there's a plate, there's a disc over there that goes through the ground over there. And then through that disc, we monitor the elevations for settlements. Next slide.
And this was over this 42-inch sewer line.
Sewer line. So this is
The sewer line and the stormwater are completely separated, right?
Yeah.
And the storm drain is doing this underneath it, the sewer is crossing it right over it. And we wanted to make sure that it's not moving as we dig underneath it.
we have to monitor the sewer line. And this is a permeable grouting for the sewer lines. So like Michelle, there's a sewer line crossing going Highway 101, we're doing microton right underneath. So we want to make sure that the sewer lines are 42 lines are very sturdy. As it goes through, it doesn't settle. And the way to do it was it's got a permeable grouting. The grouting contractors came in and from the surface, they put the disc, they excavated, they potholed it, and they injected slurry. It's called a bentonite with a chemical, a bentonite mixed with cement slurry, and they injected it around the sewer pipe. So all around the sewer pipe where the tunneling was going in, so that once it settles, it's like a concrete around the sewer pipe. So once you push the pipes underneath, the sewer pipe doesn't settle.
And how thick is that
About
coating?
the coating is about like a foot maybe.
A foot all
Yeah,
around?
all around it.
Okay.
Right. So it's injected all around the sewer pipe. And that was done before the microtunneling work. So that. Next slide.
So if it leaks, the bentonite keeps it from leaking.
No?
Keep in
No,
mind,
it's not from leaking. That's mainly for settlement.
The bentonite?
bentonite prevents is like a clay layer. So it's not so much for the leaking, but keep in mind, we're injecting water
Right.
through the auger. So making sure as we're injecting the water doesn't displace the soil around the sewer. The bentonite protects it and doesn't prevent water to
Yeah,
infiltrate
so-
from the auger. Yeah.
So,
So what happened to the root, I think sometime in 1980s, 70s, the sewer pipe was installed. When they installed it, around the sewer pipe, they put gravels around the pipe.
Oh, yeah.
So between the gravel, there's voids, right? There's voids there's voids. So the contractor came in and said, okay, when you push the pipe, we don't want, there's a possibility because of the voids,
Sure.
the pipes to collapse, there's voids. So they wanted to inject the slurries around the pipes to fill those voids. So, yeah, so that's what they did. They did this. And the purpose was to fill those voids between those gravels so that it's a compact.
That wraps up Corporation Way, West Bay Shore. So now we have Vicky presenting Hamilton Avenue.
So as you guys may know, we have the Hamilton Avenue Capacity Upgrades Project. That project limit is from Rhodes Drive all the way to Center Drive where that traffic oval is. We started construction January 5th of this year, right, at the beginning of the rainy season. So here is project update. So right now we're in the process of installing that 48-inch HDPE pipe just to increase that capacity. Some of those existing sizes are like 12 to 21 inches of RCP pipe. And we're installing 72-inch manholes along that street. So in these pictures, you can see the picture on the left, that is the base of the manhole. So typically the first part of construction, they'll pour the base before they stack on the barrel and the top to make that cone shape. And then that picture on the right, we have the excavator dropping in that 48-inch pipe into our trench. So that's what's being installed out there today, every day until we're done. Next slide, please. Great. Over the past few months, we've had a couple of project challenges. A few of these are groundwater, working wet seasons, and utility conflicts. So I have a picture of each of the challenges that we're facing. So starting on the big picture on the right, wet season. If you know, work in the wet season, there's a lot of rain. So as you can see in this trench, which is like 10 feet plus deep, we get a lot of water. So not only are we getting the water that is coming out from the streets, it's going to the storm drain, and we're starting at the most downstream end of the project at roads. We have groundwater. We've encountered groundwater about 8 feet deep into the ground. So when we have excavations like this, you can see it can fill up really quick. So there are some days that they will be working in the rain, so they just have to increase their pumps. So I think we're running about a 6-inch dewatering pump on days like this, and it's just running continuously. So they'll run it for a while until it gets to a low point, and then they can start work. Yeah.
But it's the whole groundwater issue that changed the way stuff is built in Palo Alto. If you're in a groundwater zone, and if you start bringing the houses around, you start cracking up, and bad things happen. So you still have to look at if you're pumping water, what's going to happen where you pump it from. See what I'm saying? So so if you look at that flow curve. You have to design based on that flow curve, because you can't let these guys settle down. And that's what happened to the people that were so you can't build now if you're within 10 feet of the groundwater because of that. And it's the same kind of thing here, so I'm trying to say. So.
Yeah, it's a little bit different though, Ron. They're just trying to dewater an active construction site.
Right.
Where there's a
Exactly.
pipe, so then they can
And
get
you
the
gotta be
pipe back
careful
in.
how
So
you dewater.
a little bit different than what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So.
And that picture in the top middle, groundwater. So on a non-rainy day, I think that's like middle of last month. Not too bad, maybe you got like 18 inches of water. It's not more manageable.
I used to build a lot in water country. You could use a bentonite trench to essentially to keep it from coming in on you.
Clay, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Wyoming, if they run out of it, bentonite all comes out of a mine in Wyoming.
Yeah, I'm sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then we have encountered a lot of unmarked utilities as seen in some of the pictures. So there's just a bunch of utility crossings right in the way of where we want our storm drain. So that's been interesting. And then sewer laterals in this side of town, we have a lot of sewer laterals that are made of PCP, vitrified clay pipe. And over time, they get really brittle and they break. So as we're doing construction, we're exposing these laterals, and some of them already have fractures and cracks on them. So we've had to replace a couple of them, or they may break during construction. So those are some of those.
So do we end up picking up the cost of that, or sewer gets for it? The
Yes.
budgeting of it?
Yeah, yes. So for budgeting purposes, we do pick up some costs of a lot of those, which I think on the CIP pages when we talk about the master plan did not include that measure. So that's what some of the cost overruns are on things that we didn't forecast in the master plan. In some cases, if they know and if it's a really a cracked one, utilities might come in. So we end up picking up the cost of staff. Or the alternative was we get contractors. Some contractors are great to work with, some not so much, where they call standby. We can't do anything. We're going to stand still until you guys come and fix it. So we can kind of deal with.
I mean, usually, you used to do contingency about 10 to
That's what I was just gonna say.
20 or whatever.
Yeah.
But with the unknowns now, I mean, that contingency must be going up. Is what I'm trying to think. Yeah.
It's currently being paid for in the contingency costs via change orders that are already part of the approved contract. So right now, it's not increasing the cost, but if we ran out of contingency, it could. But that's what that built-in 10% is for, which is already here in the 2026. So it's already part of the project cost, the contingency.
Great. Can we move on to the next one? And here we have the storm drain rehab replacement project. So this is regarding the 12-inch pipe on Allister Avenue. We did have this as part of the bid alternate on the Hamilton Avenue project, but the bids came in insanely high. So we decided to bid it out as a separate project to get more reasonable numbers. So I just The bay closed April 2nd. We issued the notice to intent that Monday on April 5th. So right now we're in that process of getting that awarded and getting that on the council agenda. So we do plan on working on this project in the summer while school out of session, because it's right in front of Duke Elementary.
Oh, good.
On the outskirts. So that is the goal, is to do it when the kids aren't there. It'll be easier.
And the cost of that is included in this 1,245,000 that you see on the rehab line for 2026. So we have the funding already budgeted.
Great, so I think that concludes your presentation?
Yes.
Okay,
Good.
so now we are done with our agenda item 6, and we're on to agenda item 7, which is also a no action needed. Stormwater compliance updates.
And we have Pam online.
Yeah.
Hello, good afternoon. This is going to be relatively quick, but I could come back with more information about the EPA project if you have it. The first is just finally an update. We've talked about trash compliance for a while, and we have finally reached our 100% trash reduction goal. We have notified the water board. They've accepted what we've done, and we are officially there. So that is a big feat for us. As you've heard over the years, we've been doing different projects, and these are just, an example of some of the things we've done over the years. This is for about 10 years that we've been working on this. So you will still see sometimes litter on the ground, but we have various actions in place and systems in place to make sure that even if it goes into the storm drain system, we are working in all the hotspot areas to make sure that it's detained in the system at some point so that it's not going to the creeks and to the bay. So it has been a lot of work. Thank you to Michelle and her team and Public Works Services and everyone else who has helped on this. So unfortunately, our main lead right now is out on leave, but Brad Hunt, who has presented on this more than once, worked really hard to get us to the finish line. So really, really great news for the city. And the next thing I want to present on, Michelle Nelson already mentioned it, and I wanted to talk about an EPA project that we're working on. And part of it had already started about a year to year and a half ago. The big main component is just kicking off now, so I wanted to talk a little bit more about it. And I'm not sure who knows about this project, so I just wanted to tell you about the overall project that's being funded by the EPA and then what we're working on now. This is a project funded, no, if you could move up to, thank you. So we are working on a project that's funded by the Water Quality Improvement Fund. It's an allocation from the federal government to the EPA Bay Area region that is focused on protecting water quality in the San Francisco Bay. We got a grant that is focused on green infrastructure and some other items within it. And so I wanted to tell you a little bit about that. So starting like the second part over to the right where it says GSI projects, this project is a partnership with a few other organizations, including the city of Santa Clara. And we are acting basically as what's called a pass-through. We receive funding to allow them to design and construct a green and stormwater infrastructure project in a park, in a parking lot at a park. And we are also receiving funding to design our own project, which is going to be we're proposing that it be in the Juana Briones Park, and I'll show you a picture of where that is later. We're also partnering with the San Francisco Estuary Institute, which is the leading nonprofit organization that does a lot of monitoring in the Bay Area to help identify the health of the Bay and to evaluate different projects that are happening within the wastewater and stormwater world, make sure that we are indeed improving water quality through meeting our requirements and implementing our projects. So we are going to be monitoring pre-construction and post-construction of both the projects in Palo Alto and Santa Clara. So we'll be looking at how stormwater quality improves with the addition of green stormwater infrastructure. The next thing over, if you move clockwise, the GSI maintenance training, we conducted some maintenance training through a certification program called the National Green Infrastructure Certification Program. And we were able to bring someone who has done similar training in Southern California. He came up, who is certified as a trainer in that program. And we had a lot of different city staff attend from Palo Alto, staff from City of Santa Clara, City of San Jose, and our partners that we're working on this project with, Grassroots Ecology and San Jose Conservation Corps. So we provided 4 trainings. That was a combination of classroom and in field training, and we provided enough training to meet the requirements of the certification program. If attendees want to move forward and get that certification, they can do so. We made that curriculum Bay Area focused, and I thought it went pretty well. We had pretty good survey results on that. Part of that involves, of this component of the project involves that Grassroots Ecology and San Jose Conservation Corps will continue to train together in the field, and will then be conducting some maintenance once we have these constructed on our green infrastructure that we construct through this grant. Lessons learned is a component where we're going to write a memo of how this project went. How did the stormwater engineering specifications work out for us? What do we need to adjust? How did the water quality monitoring results come out? And how did the training occur? So the different components that we are doing in the project, basically evaluating them and coming up with recommendations for the Bay Area for similar projects, and including workforce development, which is a big need in the Bay Area in terms of green infrastructure maintenance. And the last one, community engagement, coming around. That is a pretty elaborate community engagement component that we've put together, in addition to public meetings that we're going to have for the project. We are going to have be working with Grassroots Ecology to do some outreach for us as well. And so if you could move to the next page, I'll be talking a little bit more about the project. So this kickoff that we just had with a consulting firm called Geosyntec and some consultants, we are going kicks off the design of what we're calling a stormwater park, green stormwater infrastructure measure in the Juan Ebriones Park. As I mentioned, it's a proposed location based on preliminary analysis where we looked at basically where can we get more bang for our buck in terms of how can we treat the most impervious surface with the least amount of money, and at the same time meet requirements that are in our stormwater quality permit. This was the lowest hanging fruit in terms of different challenges like utilities that you've heard about from engineering just now. So we are now hopefully going to be finished with the design and also construction documents that would be ready to so that we can then enter into a contract with a construction contractor by fall of 2027. And then what's not approved right now is the funding we need for construction. So right now we have funding for design. And so the project cost is around $800,000 just for the design, which I thought was pretty expensive, but things are expensive these days. About half of it is being covered by the EPA grant and half of it is being covered by the city through the allocation we get from the storm drain fund that Michelle was talking about. So there is a CIP that's set up. That CIP is in that list of CIPs that you're looking at. The Green Infrastructure CIP contains the funding that we're using for this project. There is additional funding in that CIP. And we hope to be able to use that to for construction as well. And we'll be, we have no idea of what the cost will be, so we can't plan for it yet. But we're trying to basically, you know, somewhat, hold on to that money per se, because if we can use it for construction, then it will allow us to meet a lot of requirements that we have in the permit as well. Without getting into the details of that, we've talked about that we're required to treat impervious surface, a certain amount of impervious surface for the population in our city. And so we're trying to meet that requirement through this project. If anyone wants to know more about that, I could answer questions or bring more information at another time. The community engagement component for this project is going to include 2 public meetings. I think the first, which is going to be tentatively in June, will be at the park, where we can show the public what the park looks like and what we envision. And we'll have preliminary designs that are around what's called 10%. And then we will be following up with more elaborate designs in November. We are also going to have 2 to 3 Parks and Recreation Commission meetings where we present feedback from the public, where we present our design proposal, and we ultimately request for a parks improvement ordinance that would then be recommended to council, where council would adopt it, and then we would be able to move forward with the project at the park.
That's great. It's great to see a green infrastructure project get moving forward and with real scope, and that's lovely. Thank you so much for the presentation.
There's still.
Susie?
There's
would you like to hear more about it, or?
You're wrapping up.
No.
Go ahead.
Time?
You want to go?
All right. And then if you move to the next slide, please. So this is, it's hard to, well, I'm not sure what you all can see. I can't really read it very well, but it's right off Charleston Aristidero by a fire station on the corner, and I'm looking out on the name of that street right there. But it's Juana Briones Park is basically kitty corner. One part of it is at Charleston Aristidero, and then the back of it is in a neighborhood. So if you go to the
Mabel Avenue.
I'm sorry?
It's Mabel Avenue.
Maybell.
Thank you
Mabel.
very much. If you go to the next page, just so that I can show you a bit of a zoomed out view. So the drainage area that's in light blue is going to be the drainage area that drains to this place in the park. And it's mostly a neighborhood and partly a school. So, if you're looking at stormwater pollutants, it's not, it's not from a commercial or industrial area, but there are a lot of pollutants that are still associated with streets. And so we are going to be able to capture the pollutants that come from that area. I'm sorry, if you could go back to the previous slide. What we are planning to do, please make note that we don't have a design. This is an incredibly rudimentary drawing, but it's just to give you a sense of, if you look at the arrow on the left, we're going to divert water from the storm drain, put in a new pipe that crosses the street and goes over to the park. So when there's rain, we're going to bring it over. Whatever's in that pipe, we're going to bring it over to an area where, there's a part of this slide to the right. Is it possible to look at that? Thank you.
Yeah.
So where that arrow is going, it's actually going to, in the background of this picture that you're looking at on the right, it looks like a bridge. There's a bridge there. And so that water would be going to an area that starts to, depress, and then it would be coming down that area that it looks kind of like it's coming toward me when I'm looking at the storm drain, and that's where that water would be going. So it's going to be a pipe that we're going to put under the ground, divert it, and then take it under until a point where we can bring it up to the surface. And then in this area that we're looking at, and it's going to be beyond the scale of this picture, but we're going to build what we're calling a stormwater park. And what's a stormwater park? It can really be anything, but at the end of the day, it's an area in a park. And sometimes it's the entire park. In this case, it's a portion of the park where we can capture water, capture stormwater, treat stormwater, and in this case, add additional features as well. So if you can go to forward again.
The next one. You want the ones of the stormwater park examples? Yeah.
Yes. So, sorry, if you can move it over again. These are just some examples of other what are called stormwater parks. Some people might just call it green stormwater infrastructure or in parks or whatever it is, but basically it will allow us to capture stormwater, but it will also allow us to, increase the benefits that are for the public at the park. Whether it's areas where people can sit, whether it's like a walkway across, maybe rocks for kids to walk on, whatever it is, we're going to, bring forth some ideas to the public and see what the public would like. We know that this area, as you know, it's a hill area. We know that the kids do play in that area, but generally that area is not used very much. So it's an area that's currently not used much, and we hope to, put in some kind of multi-benefit project that will also allow us to improve stormwater quality. So that's at the end of the day what we're planning to do. We just kicked off the project a couple of weeks ago. We're hoping to have the 10% design drafted in June. And once we set up the public meeting, we'll definitely add you to the list and make you aware of any meetings that are coming up.
Great, thank you so much. Any questions?
I have one. Why are we thinking about digging and putting a pipe in to get the water? Why not something that's more surface level with maybe a grill to just siphon the water wherever it is needed to go? Like, if this is just kind of a water collection and bringing it to a different location, why question?
I believe you said, was your question, why are we not putting in a surface?
So why are we digging why are we digging, Pam, and moving in the pipe? So
that's the essential.
So we'll be able to
pipe instead of like something that's more surface level solution.
We'll be able to capture a lot more stormwater if we put in a pipe and divert it. If we want to put something on the surface to try to just capture what's coming down on the surface, we would just be capturing whatever is draining to it from that street. And it would be limited because, at some point the street changes grade and it might flow one direction over another. And so this allows us to capture all that drainage area. That's the only way we can capture a large drainage area is when we can bring water over from the actual storm drain pipe. Otherwise, we can only capture whatever is flowing on the surface of the street in that smaller area.
Pam, if I can interject here, I'm not familiar with this project in general, when you let water sheet flow from the surface, it sheet flows fast. And the soil quality doesn't allow for absorption as fast. So it probably top 6 inches get filled and moist and water saturates in that area, but we're not taking advantage of the entire depth. By taking water from the street, putting it into a pipe, and then forcing it to pond, basically a ponding area, we're encouraging water. We can change the soil, we can change the material underneath the soil. And Rajiv mentioned rocks, putting in rocks and having void space. We can change that by soils and allow more infiltration. So by putting a pipe, directing it to an area below grade and in an area that's pervious, we can change the pervious area to allow for more infiltration. It's been done in other locations where you do circles and you have water that is the deepest and like a target sign, the deepest areas at the center of the circle. And then as you move up, water fills up in ponds. So small storm events can still infiltrate, large storm events have more capacity.
But this all solids still move through. And so you're really using underground flow to
the solids would settle on the surface. So this is sort of a combined effort. I'm talking about the quality component, but there's the quantity
But if you're-
component. But in Pam's case, she's also dealing with the quality. So the soil, whatever oils, grease that would still get collected, or I don't know, whatever napkins, tissues, things that are on the surface would still be collected before it goes into our storm drain system down to like Matadero Creek.
That's what's so great about the green storm infrastructure is it uses the plants and soils and all the other things to absorb it, nature systems, right? And the natural system. And then the reason why Pam and its team picked this one as a proposed site, it was an area that had the ecosystem wasn't that great anyway. And so that's part of it too, is it's trying to enhance that park area. So they did a lot of research looking at all the different parks. How do we get a watershed area? So we get more areas that we need to treat, moving it into a park that we can treat. So it helps us in that regard. And then we can get more credits for the stormwater permit. So that's also helping us. And then we can, hopefully then we don't have, the next time we do a project. So we're trying to get the biggest bang for our buck.
Less utility conflicts,
Yeah.
Less clay this far further up away from the bay, less clay. I mean, we're dealing with utility conflict on our end. We're dealing with clay and groundwater. This is less likely to be that of an issue. So
That's great. So we're running a little short on time. If we wanted to end on time, there's one more agenda item.
This is your agenda item.
So agenda item 8, no action needed. It's a council work plan debrief. Do you want me to talk about this?
If you want, it's up to you.
Sure. So I was invited as the chair to the city council meeting recently, and they were reviewing work plans from I think 4 of the other committees and commissions, including the public art one and the health, Parks and Rec. There was one more.
HR, human resources.
That's right. And then our committee, we were last on the schedule, which was fine.
For the whole night.
And they were running an hour over, which I guess is standard. So it was all good. It was all good. And so staff kindly put together some slides. One was the famous and beautiful map slide of all the projects with the color coding to show their status. And the other was some accomplishments for the year, some nice photographs of the various work that has been going on. And then we went over the work plan, or this is the royal we, went over the work plan. And do you guys remember the work plan? There's that 3-point spreadsheet, where it said, oh, there's CIP projects, and then we have to comply with regulations. Within, they have to be, conducted under the umbrella of all the regulations and compliance goals, and then we track and monitor the green infrastructure. So those are the 3 big items. And then there were some questions, and the one thing they had a comment on was, I think the mayor actually said how excited she was by green infrastructure. So it's great that this project, it was nice. I thought, oh, that's great that you have a specific project that'll be, in a park where kids play and by school and in a nice community that could really just spruce up that park. So yeah, it was fun.
So the mayor is very involved in our sustainability climate action plan, and she's on the SCAP, that committee.
Yeah.
And so that's one of our goals.
Good goal.
And it's part of our sustainability goals. So that is why she's very engaged on green storm infrastructure.
Cool.
Yeah. So, but yeah, thank you.
You all created and approved this work plan a year ago, last April, because it used to go to council in August as a consent item. So we reviewed it in our meeting last April and we're ready to go in August. And then the council decided they wanted a more in-depth review of these work plans, and they bumped it to an action item in April. So it's a bit lagged, to say the least, but it still aligns with the year that we were looking at. But I think we'll shift you guys to develop those work plans a little closer to when we're going to go to council going forward. So we'll do one maybe in the October meeting. We'll work on the work plan for the next year.
Not that it changes a lot for your
For this committee,
no,
it's
a little bit different.
more straightforward than some of the other ones, like
Well,
public art.
yeah,
We did update, I think we updated the fine print in one of them about
Mhm.
what were the current projects or
Yeah.
completed projects. So
So thank you guys very much.
Yes,
for
and
all
thank
your
you for
support.
attending.
And they're actively, Dina's actually stepped away, so they're trying to do a short-term fill. So I sent you I can send it to all of you. They're just trying to find someone for Dina's
Right.
fill, but not for yours yet.
Oh, ours
I
are,
got clarification during.
okay, great. So we'll just keep our eyes open for it. Should we choose to reapply?
Please
Yeah.
do.
Please do. We would
Please
really
hurry up.
appreciate that.
So,
you know,
but thank you for following up on that. Appreciate it. So I think we're done doing, unless there's any other
Okay.
comment. Did we get a motion? Yes, please move. I got the second, and are we,
I can say.
okay, and Greg, do you have any comments? I don't wanna
Yeah, I'm
ignore you completely.
Nope, everything was great. Thank you so much, guys.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks for coming in.
Right.
All right,
your little guy.
so I think we're ready. Are we ready to adjourn? Yes? Okay, I don't want to override anybody.
No, can be seconded on this.
So thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna go to that. I got a reminder that there's
Thank
you know, the meeting protocol refresher course.
the BCC,
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna go to that, so.
okay, good, because I can't attend. That's my son's 18th birthday.
Oh,
I will not be attending.
When is this?
April 27th or something?
That's April 20th.
For Brown and,
Oh, no, it's
Timing?
my another senior night. That's
Okay.
I think it was April 27th, right?
I've
Monday?
been senior